The great hall of the Galactic Conclave was filled with beings from across the stars. Massive pillars of crystal rose toward a ceiling that showed the endless black of space. 3 thrones sat at the center of the room, each holding a ruler of an empire that had conquered thousands of worlds. High Sovereign Malachi of the Valoran Dominion sat on the largest throne. His pale blue skin glowed under the lights, and his 4 eyes looked down at the assembly with boredom. To his left sat Fleet Commander Raxes of the Kethron Empire, a creature of scales and muscle who had personally led the destruction of 12 civilizations. To the right was Grand Minister Voroth of the Sindari Collective, old and cunning, who preferred to let others fight while he collected the profits. They had gathered to discuss one thing: the humans of Earth. Their territory is small, Malachi said, waving one of his 6 fingers at a holographic map. 20 colonies. 1 homeworld. Resources we could use. Why do we allow them to exist? Raxes laughed, a deep rumbling sound. Because they are nothing. Soft creatures. They have no real fleet. No weapons worth mentioning. They hide in their corner of the galaxy and pretend they matter. Then let us stop pretending they do, Vorath said quietly. I propose we divide their space among us. The Valoran take their outer colonies. The Kethron take their mining worlds. The Sindari will handle their trade routes. The assembly murmured in agreement. It was simple. It was logical. The humans were weak. The weak existed to serve the strong. But one voice spoke against them. Ambassador Thessa stepped forward from the shadows. She was young for a Valoran diplomat, with silver markings on her face that showed her low rank. She had studied the humans for years. She had read their history. She had seen things that troubled her. Sovereign, she said, bowing deeply. I ask you to reconsider. Malachi's 4 eyes narrowed. Speak. We know very little about the humans, Thessa said. We have never seen them fight. Not truly. They have avoided every conflict. They have refused every challenge. We assume this is because they are weak. But what if we are wrong? Raxes slammed his fist on his throne. Wrong? I have seen their ships. Old designs. Slow engines. Weapons that could not scratch the paint on my flagship. They are prey animals, pretending to be predators. Their history says otherwise, Thessa continued. On their homeworld, they fought wars that killed millions. They created weapons that could destroy cities in seconds. They hunted their own predators to extinction. They are not peaceful by nature. They choose peace. That is different, Voroth laughed softly. A species that chooses not to fight is a species that has forgotten how. You worry about nothing, Ambassador? Malachi raised his hand, silencing the room. He looked at Thessa with something between amusement and annoyance. You think these humans are dangerous? He asked. I think we do not know what they are, Thessa replied. And I think that should concern us. The hall was silent for a moment. Then Malachi smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Send them the ultimatum, he said. They will surrender their colonies. They will accept our rule. Or we will erase them from the stars. Let us see how dangerous they truly are. The assembly cheered. Thessa bowed her head and stepped back into the shadows. She had tried. No one had listened far across the galaxy. On a world of blue oceans and green continents, the ultimatum arrived. Admiral Taiwan Shin stood in the command center of United Earth Navy headquarters. He was an old man with gray hair and calm eyes. He had served Earth for 50 years. He had prepared for this moment for all of them. Around him stood the leaders of humanity's military. They watched the holographic message play. The alien sovereign's words were clear: surrender everything or die. When the message ended, the room was silent. They think we are weak, said General Murray Song, commander of Earth's ground forces. Her voice was tight with anger. They think we are afraid, added Director Hyun Woo Jang of military intelligence. Every report they have says we have no real defenses. Taiwan nodded slowly. Good. The others looked at him with confusion. Good, Murray asked. Sir, they are threatening to destroy us. Taiwan turned to face them. His expression had not changed. He looked like a man who had been waiting for a package to arrive and had finally heard the doorbell. "For 200 years we have hidden," he said. "We let them think we were weak. We let them believe we had nothing. We watched them conquer and destroy, and we said nothing. We did nothing. Do you know why?" No one answered. "Because we were building," Taiwan said. "We were preparing, not for peace. For this moment. The moment they would come for us." A new hologram appeared. It showed a ship unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. A massive vessel, dark and angular, covered in weapons that seemed to bend light around them. "The HSS Silent Thunder," Taiwan said. "The first of 18. Cloaking technology they cannot detect. Shields they cannot break. Weapons they cannot imagine. Hidden beneath the ice of Europa for 40 years. Waiting." The room stared at the image in shock. "Wait, Captain Park," Taiwan ordered. "Tell him the waiting is over." Deep beneath the frozen surface of Europa, in a shipyard that appeared on no map, a message arrived. Captain Doyon Park read it in the darkness of his quarters. He was a quiet man, 40 years old, with the kind of face that revealed nothing. He had trained his entire adult life for a mission he believed might never come. Now it had. He walked through the corridors of the sleeping ship. Engineers and officers moved past him, their footsteps quick with purpose. Lights that had been dim for decades flickered to life. Engines that had never truly fired began to hum with power. Doyen reached the bridge and sat in the captain's chair. Around him, his crew took their positions. Commander Unikong, his first officer, stood at his side. Lieutenant Jihobeek powered up the weapon systems. Chief Engineer Soman Ha reported from the engine room. "All systems ready, Captain," Una said. "We are awake." Doyen looked at the main view screen. It showed only ice and darkness. But soon it would show stars. And then it would show the faces of those who had made a terrible mistake. "Take us out," he said quietly. "Let us go introduce ourselves to the galaxy." The ice above them began to crack and fall away. The silent thunder rose from its grave, and the universe held its breath. The colony world of New Busan hung in space like a blue and white jewel. 8 million humans lived on its surface. They had built cities and farms. They had raised children and buried grandparents. They had made a home among the stars. Now 400 alien warships filled the sky above them. Fleet Commander Raxi stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Kethrin vessel Worldbreaker. It was a massive ship, bristling with weapons that had burned civilizations to ash. Around it flew the combined might of 2 empires. Valoran cruisers with their elegant curves, Kethrin destroyers with their brutal angles. Enough firepower to crack a planet in half. Raxis watched the colony below with hungry eyes. The humans had 12 hours to surrender. After that, he would begin the bombardment. "Any response from their government?" he asked his communications officer. "Nothing, Commander. They are evacuating civilians to underground shelters." Raxis laughed. "Underground shelters, as if that will save them. Do they have any ships? Any defenses?" "Our sensors show nothing, Commander. Few transport vessels fleeing the system. No military presence at all." "Cowards," Raxi said with disgust. "They will not even fight for their own world. This will be easier than I thought." On the surface of New Busan, Governor Yoonji Choi stood in her office and watched the sky. The alien ships were visible even from the ground, dark shapes blocking out the stars. Her people were afraid. They had every right to be. Her communicator buzzed. She answered it. "Governor, this is Admiral Shin. How are your people?" Terrified, Yoonji said honestly. "We have moved everyone we can underground, but if they start firing, the shelters will not hold for long." "They will not fire," Taiwan said. His voice was calm. It's almost peaceful. "How can you know that?" "'Cause help is already there. You just cannot see it yet." Yoonji frowned. "Admiral, our sensors show no friendly ships anywhere in the system." "I know," Taiwan said. "Trust me, Governor. Before this day ends, the enemy will be the ones who are afraid." The call ended. Yoonji looked back at the sky and wondered what the Admiral knew that she did not. The answer floated invisibly in the darkness of space. Directly in the center of the alien formation, the HSS Silent Thunder had arrived 3 hours ago. It had slipped past every sensor, every patrol, every scanner the aliens possessed. Now it drifted silently among them, close enough to see the markings on their hulls, close enough to count the weapons on their ships. On the bridge, Captain Doyon Park watched the enemy fleet on his view screen. 400 ships. It's the largest fleet the galaxy had assembled in a century, and they had no idea he was there. Status report, he said quietly. Commander Unicong checked her displays. All systems operating perfectly. Cloak is stable. It cannot see us, hear us, or detect us in any way. We are a ghost. Weapons, Doyon asked. Lieutenant Jiho Beek responded from his station. All batteries charged and ready. Targeting solutions calculated for every ship in the formation. I can hit them all simultaneously. Engine status. Chief Engineer. Salman Ha's voice came through the intercom from the engine room. Engines are purring like a kitten, Captain. Ready for anything you need? Doyon nodded slowly. He had spent his entire career preparing for this moment. Training, planning, waiting. Now the moment had arrived, and he felt nothing but calm. Open a channel to Admiral Shin, he ordered. Taiwan's face appeared on the screen. The old admiral looked at Dojon with something like pride. Captain Park. What is your assessment? They are confident, Doyon said. Arrogant. They believe this will be easy. They've positioned their ships for maximum intimidation, not for combat. Their shields are at minimum power. Their weapons are not armed. And your recommendation? Doyon allowed himself a small smile. I recommend we educate them. Taiwan nodded. Permission granted. Show them what humanity has been doing for the last 200 years. The channel closed. Doyon turned to his crew. They looked back at him with steady eyes. They had trained for this. They were ready. Decloak the ship, Doyon ordered. Let them see us. Yuna's fingers moved across her console. Decloaking in 3, 2, 1. On the bridge of the World Breaker, chaos erupted. One moment, Fleet Commander Raxes was enjoying his victory. The next moment, alarms screamed across every ship in his fleet. A massive vessel had appeared from nowhere, directly in the center of his formation. What is that? Raxes roared. Where did it come from? His sensor officer was shaking. I do not know, Commander. It was not there. It was nothing. And then suddenly Raxes stared at the view screen. The human ship was enormous. Larger than his flagship. Larger than anything he had ever seen. Its hull was black as space itself. Covered in weapons platforms that glowed with barely contained energy. It looked like something from a nightmare. How did they get past our sensors? Raxes demanded. Possible, his science officer whispered. That is impossible. No cloaking technology exists that could hide a ship that size. We would have detected the energy signature alone. But the ship was there. Real. Solid. And far too close. On the silent thunder, Doyon watched the alien fleet scramble in panic. Ships were trying to turn, to raise shields, to arm weapons. They moved like insects whose nest had been disturbed. Open a channel, Doyon said. All frequencies. Yuna nodded. Channel open, Captain. Doyon stood from his chair. He looked directly at the camera that would broadcast his image to every ship in the enemy fleet. When he spoke, his voice was calm and clear. This is Captain Doyon Park of the HSS Silent Thunder, representing the United Earth Navy. You have entered human space with hostile intent. You have threatened our colonies. You have demanded our surrender. He paused, letting the words sink in. We decline. Raxes watched the human captain speak and felt something he had not felt in decades. Fear. Real fear. Commander, his tactical officer said urgently, that ship has weapons locked on every vessel in our formation. Every single one. Simultaneously? That is not possible, Raxes said weakly. I am reading the targeting data myself, Commander. If they fire, they will hit us all at the same time. Raxes looked at the human ship floating among his fleet like a predator that had wandered into a herd of prey. He had conquered 12 civilizations. It never once felt like this. You have two choices, Doyon continued on the view screen. You can leave our space now, in peace. Or you can learn why humanity has been silent for 200 years. I strongly suggest you choose the first option. The bridge of the World Breaker was silent. Every officer stared at their commander, waiting for orders. Raxi straightened his spine. He was a warrior. He did not run from a single ship, no matter how large. "All ships," he commanded, "open fire." On the silent thunder, Dojan watched 400 alien vessels turn their weapons toward him. He did not flinch. He did not blink. "They have chosen poorly," he said simply. Jiho prepared to show them their mistake. Lieutenant Jihobeek smiled grimly and placed his hand on the firing controls. "With pleasure, Captain." 400 ships opened fire at the same moment. The space around the silent thunder exploded with light. Plasma bolts, energy beams, missiles, and kinetic rounds poured toward the human vessel from every direction. It was enough firepower to destroy a small moon, enough to turn a continent into glass, enough to end any ship that had ever existed. On the bridge of the Worldbreaker, Fleet Commander Raxes watched with satisfaction. No vessel, no matter how large, could survive such an assault. The human ship would be dust in seconds. The weapons struck the silent thunder, and nothing happened. The ship remained exactly where it was. Its hull was untouched. Its weapons still glowed with power. It floated in the storm of destruction like a rock in a river, unmoved and undamaged. Raxes felt his blood turn cold. "Report. What happened?" His tactical officer was staring at his console in disbelief. "Direct hits, Commander. Hundreds of them. But their shields. They absorbed everything. Reflected some of it back into space. I have never seen readings like this. Crease fire. All ships. Maximum power. The assault doubled. Every ship in the fleet pushed their weapons to their limits. The silent thunder disappeared behind a wall of energy and fire. Surely nothing could survive this. Surely inside the silent thunder, the crew felt nothing. The ship did not shake. The lights did not flicker. Chief Engineer Soman Ha watched her displays with professional pride. "Shield integrity at 99%, she reported. "They could keep this up for a month and not scratch us." Captain Doyan Park nodded. He had expected nothing less. The shields had been designed by the greatest minds on Earth, refined over 200 years. They were not just technology. They were art. "Lieutenant Beak," he said calmly. "Status of targeting solutions?" Jiho checked his screens. "All 400 ships locked. I have firing solutions for their weapon systems and engines. Precision strikes. No crew quarters, no life support. They will be disabled, not destroyed." Commander Unicong looked at the captain. "Sir, they tried to kill us. No one would blame us if we responded in kind." Doyan shook his head slowly. "We are not here to kill them, Commander. We are here to teach them. Dead students learn nothing." He stood and watched the futile assault continue outside. The alien fleet was pouring everything they had into the attack. They were desperate now, afraid. "Good. Cease firing," Dojan ordered. "Let them exhaust themselves." For 5 more minutes, the alien fleet attacked. Their weapons grew weaker as power cells drained. Their missiles ran out. Their energy beams flickered and died. Finally, the last ship stopped firing. Silence fell over the battlefield. Raxi stared at the view screen. The human ship was completely undamaged. It had not even moved. His entire fleet had thrown everything at it, and it had done nothing but wait. "What are they?" His first officer whispered. Before Raxes could answer, the human captain appeared on his screen again. Doyan's face was calm, almost gentle. "Are you finished?" Doyan asked. "Good, now it is our turn." Raxes opened his mouth to speak, to threaten, to negotiate anything. But he was too late. The silent thunder fired. It was not a barrage. It was not a storm. It was surgery. Hundreds of precise energy beams lanced out from the human ship simultaneously. Each one struck a specific target on a specific ship. Weapon batteries exploded. Engine cores went dark. Sensor arrays shattered. The beams hit with impossible accuracy, striking systems that should have been protected by layers of armor. It lasted exactly 4.7 seconds. When it was over, not a single alien ship could fight. Not a single alien ship could run. 400 vessels drifted helplessly in space, their crews alive but utterly powerless. On the Worldbreaker, the lights flickered and died. Emergency power kicked in, bathing the bridge in red. Raxes tried to give orders, but nothing worked. His weapons were gone. His engines were gone. His communications were gone. All he could do was stare at the view screen, where the human ship floated untouched among the wreckage of his pride. A single communication came through, somehow penetrating the dead systems. It was Commander Unicong's voice. "This is the HSS Silent Thunder to all disabled vessels. Your weapons are destroyed. Your engines are offline. Your fleet is no longer a threat. However, your life support systems remain intact. Your crews are unharmed." This was a choice. She paused, letting the words sink in. We could have killed you all. Every ship, every crew member, in less than 5 seconds. We chose not to. Remember that when you report to your leaders. Remember that humanity had the power to destroy you and chose mercy instead. Do not make us choose differently. The channel closed. Raxi sat in his command chair, surrounded by the corpse of his fleet. He had conquered 12 civilizations. He had never lost a battle. He had believed the humans were prey. He had been wrong about everything. On New Busan, Governor Yoonji Choi watched the sky. The alien ships were still there. They were dark now. Dead. Drifting. And in the center of them, a single human vessel glowed with power. Her communicator buzzed. It was Admiral Shin. "Governor, the threat has been neutralized. Your people are safe." Youngji felt tears on her cheeks. "Admiral, what just happened?" "Humanity happened," Taiwan replied. "We have been preparing for this for 200 years. We knew they would come eventually. We knew they would underestimate us. We made sure that when they did, they would learn the truth." "What truth?" "That we are not weak. We never were. We simply chose not to show our strength until it was necessary." On the Silent Thunder, Captain Doyan sat back in his chair. The battle, if it could be called that, was over. His crew was checking systems, confirming the status of the disabled fleet, preparing reports. Yuna approached him quietly. "Sir, we have received a transmission from the enemy flagship. Fleet Commander Raxes wishes to speak with you." Doyan nodded. "Put him through." Raxus's face appeared on the screen. He looked older than he had an hour ago. His scales had lost their shine. His eyes held none of their former arrogance. "How?" Raxes asked. His voice was hollow. "How is any of this possible? Our intelligence said you had no military, no defenses, no technology worth mentioning." Doyan looked at the alien commander with something like pity. "Your intelligence saw what we wanted them to see," he said. "We have been hiding our true capabilities since the day we first detected alien life. We knew that the galaxy was dangerous. We knew that strength invited challenge. So we pretended to be weak. We let everyone believe we were harmless. And while you were conquering and destroying, we were building, learning, preparing." He leaned forward slightly. "You never wondered why we avoided every conflict? Why we never responded to insults or threats? It was not because we were afraid. It was because we were not ready. Now we are." Raxes was silent for a long moment. "How many ships like this do you have?" he finally asked. Doyan smiled slightly. "Enough." The channel closed. Doyan looked at his crew, at the people who had trusted him, who had trained with him, who had waited with him for this moment. "Send a message to Admiral Shin," he ordered. "Tell him Phase 1 is complete. The galaxy now knows we exist. Let us see how they respond." Yuna nodded and began composing the message. Outside the view screen, 400 alien ships drifted in darkness. Monuments to a miscalculation that would change history. The humans had been silent for 2 centuries. Now the galaxy would hear their voice. The news spread across the stars like wildfire. In the great halls of the Valoran Dominion, officials whispered in fear. In the war rooms of the Kethran Empire, generals stared at reports they could not believe. In the counting houses of the Sindari Collective, merchants calculated the cost of a war. They suddenly realized they could not win. A single human ship had disabled 400 vessels in less than 5 seconds. High Sovereign Malachi sat on his throne and listened to the report with growing rage. His 4 eyes burned with fury. His 6 fingers gripped the arms of his chair until they cracked. "Possible," he declared. "This is a trick, a deception. No species hidden in a forgotten corner of the galaxy could develop such technology." His military advisor, a scarred veteran named Admiral Torvax, bowed his head. "High Sovereign, I have confirmed the reports myself. Our ships are disabled, not destroyed. The humans showed mercy, but their weapons. We have nothing that compares." "Then we will overwhelm them with numbers," Malachi said. "One ship defeated 400. Send 4,000. Send our entire war fleet. Crush them under the weight of our empire." Admiral Torvax hesitated. "High Sovereign, if they have more ships like that one, then we will learn what they have and destroy it all," Malachi snapped. "I will not be humiliated by animals who were digging in dirt when our ancestors ruled the stars. Mobilize everything. Every ship. Every soldier. Every weapon. The humans will pay for this insult with their extinction." The order went out. Across 100 worlds, the Valoran war machine began to move, but not everyone was so eager. Grand Minister Vorath of the Sindari Collective sat in his private chambers and studied the reports with calculating eyes. He was old and cunning, and he had not survived this long by making foolish decisions. "Contact the humans," he told his assistant, quietly, through back channels. "Tell them the Sindari wish to discuss. Alternative arrangements? You would abandon the alliance." His assistant asked in surprise. "I would survive," Vorath replied. "The Valoran are proud. The Kethran are angry. Neither will think clearly. But I have always known when to fold my cards. The humans have shown us a glimpse of their strength. I suspect it is only a glimpse. I have no desire to see the full picture." Within hours, a secret message was traveling toward Earth in the Galactic Conclave chamber. Ambassador Thessa stood before the emergency assembly. She had warned them. They had not listened. Now she watched their fear with grim satisfaction. "I told you," she said, her voice cutting through the chaos. "I told you we knew nothing about the humans. I told you we should not provoke them. You laughed at me. You said they were soft, primitive, prey." She gestured at the holographic display showing the crippled fleet. "Does this look like prey to you?" High Sovereign Malachi glared at her. "Your warnings mean nothing now, Ambassador. What matters is our response. We will gather every ship in the Dominion and send them to die." Thessa interrupted. "We do not know how many ships like that they have. We do not know what other weapons they possess. We do not know anything. And you want to throw our entire fleet at them? What would you suggest?" Malachi asked coldly. "Surrender? Bow to these creatures?" Thessa met his gaze without flinching. "I suggest we talk to them. Learn what they want. Find a solution that does not end with our destruction." Malachi's laugh was harsh. "The Valoran do not negotiate with lesser species. We conquer them." "Then the Valoran may not survive this," Thessa said quietly. On Earth, Meryl Taiwan Shin received reports from across the galaxy. The Valoran were mobilizing. The Kethran were in chaos. Their fleet still disabled at New Busan. The Sindari were seeking peace. It was exactly as he had predicted. He activated a secure channel to 17 locations, scattered across human space. 17 captains answered, their faces appearing on screens around his command center. 17 ships that had been hidden for decades, waiting for this moment. "The time has come," Taiwan said. "The Valoran are sending their entire war fleet. They believe one ship was a fluke. They believe they can overwhelm us with numbers. We will show them how wrong they are." Captain Doyon Park's face was among them. "What are your orders, Admiral?" "Decloak. All of you. Let the galaxy see what humanity has built. Let them understand that the Silent Thunder was not alone. Let them realize the full scope of their mistake." 17 acknowledgements came back. 17 ships prepared to reveal themselves across the galaxy. The humans showed their hand. The HSS Voidwalker decloaked above the Valoran homeworld, peering from nothing in orbit around their capital. Panic gripped the population below. Their greatest defense fleet was far away, heading for human space. They were defenseless. The HSS Iron Dawn revealed itself in the heart of Kethrin territory, floating calmly beside their largest shipyard. Workers fled in terror. Military commanders screamed for reinforcements that could not come. The HSS Stellar Fury appeared near the Sindari trade hub, a reminder that their neutrality had been noted. But their safety was not guaranteed. 14 more ships decloaked at strategic points across the three empires. 18 human warships in total, each as massive and powerful as the Silent Thunder, each positioned to strike at the heart of their enemies, and they did nothing. They simply floated there, visible, present, undeniable. A message more powerful than any words. We are here. We have always been here. You never knew. On his flagship, racing toward human space with 2,000 ships, High Sovereign Malachi received the reports. Human warships had appeared throughout his empire. They were not attacking. They were not demanding anything. They were just there. How many? He demanded. 18 confirmed High Sovereign, all matching the configuration of the vessel at New Busan. 18 ships. Each one had disabled 400 vessels in seconds. If they attacked simultaneously, Malachi felt something he had never felt before. Doubt. Continue to human space, he ordered, but his voice had lost its confidence. We will destroy their homeworld. We will. High Sovereign, his communications officer interrupted. Incoming transmission. From the human vessel in orbit around our homeworld, Captain Doyon Park appeared on the screen. His face was calm, patient, almost kind. High Sovereign Malachi, Doyon said, I am speaking to you from orbit above your capital. I want you to understand something. Right now, I could destroy every military installation on your planet. I could cripple your infrastructure. I could end your civilization's ability to make war. And you could not stop me. Malachi's hands trembled with rage and fear. But I am not going to do that, Doyon continued, because that is not who we are. Humanity does not want your territory. We do not want your resources. We do not want to rule you. We want to be left alone. We want peace. He leaned forward slightly. We will not negotiate from weakness. You threatened our people. You demanded our surrender. You sent a fleet to conquer us. So now we are showing you the truth. This is what we have. This is what we can do. And this is what will happen to anyone who threatens humanity again. The screen flickered, and a new image appeared. It showed the Valoran war fleet, 2,000 ships strong, traveling through space toward human territory. It also showed 12 human warships that had somehow appeared around them, boxing them in, weapons charged and ready. Your fleet is surrounded, Doyon said. They did not detect our ships until we wanted them to. Just like at New Busan. This is your final chance. High Sovereign. Turn your fleet around. Go home. And never threaten us again. Or we will do to 2,000 ships what we did to 400. The transmission ended. Malachi stared at the blank screen. His empire. His power. His pride. All of it meant nothing against an enemy he could not see. Could not fight. Could not defeat. For the first time in his long life. The High Sovereign of the Valoran Dominion had no idea what to do, and far away. In orbit above his homeworld, Captain Doyon Park waited patiently for an answer. The Valoran war fleet stopped. 2,000 ships hung motionless in space, surrounded by 12 human warships they had never seen coming. For 3 hours, nothing moved. High Sovereign Malachi sat on his throne aboard the command vessel, staring at the image of the human dreadnoughts that had appeared from nowhere. His advisors had stopped offering suggestions. His generals had stopped making threats. Everyone was waiting for him to make a decision that would determine the fate of their entire civilization. Malacca. I thought about his pride. He thought about the glory of the Valoran Dominion, built over 10,000 years of conquest. He thought about his ancestors, who had never surrendered to anyone, Then he thought about his people. The billions of Valorans on their homeworld, defenseless, with a human warship floating above them. The colonies that had no protection, the children who would never grow up if he made the wrong choice. "Open a channel," he said finally. His voice was heavy, defeated. To the human admiral. Admiral Taiwan Shin appeared on the screen. His face showed no triumph, no mockery, only patience. "Hi, Sovereign," Taiwan said. "Have you made your decision?" Malachi closed his 4 eyes for a long moment. When he opened them, something had changed in him. The fire was gone. The arrogance was gone. Only a tired old ruler remained. "We will withdraw," Malachi said. "We will return to our territory. We will not threaten your people again." Taiwan nodded slowly. "That is wise. But it is not enough. What more do you want?" "A treaty. Formal recognition of human sovereignty. Reparations for the colonies you threatened. A seat for humanity at the Galactic Conclave. And a promise, witnessed by all 3 empires, that no aggression against human space will ever be attempted again." Malachi's jaw tightened. These were harsh terms. Humiliating terms. But what choice did he have? "And if we refuse?" Taiwan's expression did not change. "Then we will do what we must. We do not want to destroy your civilization, High Sovereign. We never did. But we will if you force us to. The choice is yours." The silence stretched for a long moment. Then Malachi lowered his head. "We accept your terms." 1 month later, the Treaty of New Busan was signed in orbit above the colony that had almost been destroyed. Representatives from all 3 galactic powers gathered aboard a neutral station. The Valoran came with bowed heads and quiet voices. The Kethron, their fleet still being repaired, sent apologies and promises. The Sindari, who had already negotiated their separate peace, came to make sure they were on the winning side, and humanity came with 18 warships visible in the distance. A reminder of why everyone was there. High Sovereign Malachi signed the treaty with shaking hands. He agreed to recognize human sovereignty over all current and future colonies. He agreed to pay compensation to New Busan and other threatened worlds. He agreed that the Valoran Dominion would never again consider aggression against humanity. Fleet Commander Raxes, who had led the original assault, was present as well. He had been demoted, stripped of his rank, made an example of. He watched the ceremony with hollow eyes, a broken warrior who had learned too late that true strength does not always roar. Grand Minister Voroth signed eagerly. Pleased that his early surrender had earned him favorable treatment, the Sindari would remain neutral trading partners, allowed to do business with humans as equals rather than subjects. When all the signatures were complete, Admiral Taiwan Shin stepped forward to address the assembly. "For 200 years," he said, "humanity watched the galaxy. We saw empires rise and fall. We saw civilizations conquered and destroyed. We saw the strong devour the weak again and again. And we knew that one day someone would come for us." He paused, looking around at the faces of beings who had once considered humans inferior. "So we prepared, not for war, for survival. We built ships that could not be detected, weapons that could not be stopped, shields that could not be broken, and we hid them. We let the galaxy think we were weak. We let you believe we were prey." His voice hardened slightly. "We never wanted this confrontation. We would have been happy to remain in our corner of the galaxy, building our worlds, raising our children, living in peace. But you would not allow that. You came with threats and ultimatums. You demanded our surrender. You left us no choice but to show you the truth." He looked directly at Malachi. "The truth is simple. Humanity does not threaten. We do not make demands. We do not conquer. But we will defend ourselves, always, against anyone, no matter how powerful they think they are." Taiwan stepped back from the podium. "This treaty is not a victory for humanity. It is an opportunity. An opportunity for all of us to build something better than conquest and domination. We offer friendship to those who want it, trade, cooperation, shared knowledge. But we will never again allow ourselves to be threatened. That is our promise. That is our warning. That is who we are. The ceremony ended. The representatives departed. The galaxy began to adjust to a new reality. 6 months after the treaty, the Galactic Conclave met for the first time with a human representative at the table. Ambassador Sujino took her seat at the head of the chamber, in the position that had once belonged to High Sovereign Malachi. She was a small woman, with gentle eyes and a warm smile. She looked nothing like a conqueror, but everyone in the room knew what stood behind her. 18 warships, weapons that defied understanding. Technology that was centuries ahead of anything the galaxy had ever seen, and a species that had hidden its strength for 200 years, waiting for the moment it would be needed. Thesa watched from the gallery as the session began. She had been right about the humans. She had warned her people, and they had not listened. Now she served as a liaison between the Valoran and the new human representatives, trying to build bridges where there had once been threats. After the session, she approached Ambassador Sujin. "May I ask you something?" Thessa said. Sujin smiled warmly. "Of course. Your people hid your strength for 2 centuries. You pretended to be weak when you were strong. You let everyone underestimate you. Why?" Sujin considered the question carefully. "Because strength without wisdom is dangerous," she said. "We could have revealed ourselves long ago. We could have built an empire like yours, conquered worlds, dominated the galaxy. But we had seen where that leads. We had studied your history. We knew that empires built on conquest always fall. We did not want to become what we feared. So you waited. We waited. We watched. We learned. And when the threat finally came, we were ready. Not to conquer, to protect. There is a difference." Thesa nodded slowly. "I think I understand now. You were never the prey." Sujin's smile faded slightly, replaced by something deeper. "Something ancient," she said. "We never were. Humanity learned long ago that the most dangerous predator is the one that does not need to hunt. The one that waits in the shadows, patient and silent, until something makes the mistake of attacking it." She looked out the window at the stars. "We are that predator, Ambassador Thesa. We always have been, and now the galaxy knows it." Far away in orbit above New Busan, Captain Doyon Park stood on the bridge of the Silent Thunder. The crisis was over. The treaty was signed. Peace had been achieved. Commander Unicong joined him at the view screen. "The crew is asking about our next assignment," she said. "What do I tell them?" Doyon smiled slightly. "Tell them we wait. We watch. We prepare. Just as we always have. Do you think they will try again? The Valoran. The Kethrin? Anyone?" Doyon looked out at the stars, at the vast galaxy that had learned a hard lesson about underestimating humanity. "Perhaps," he said. "Someday someone may forget what happened here. Someone may think we have grown weak or careless. Someone may believe they can succeed where others failed." He turned to face her. "And when they do, we will be ready. Not because we want war, not because we seek conquest, but because that is who we are. Humanity does not fight to dominate. We fight to survive, and we are very good at surviving." Yuna nodded, understanding. Outside the view screen, the stars burned cold and bright. The galaxy stretched out in all directions, full of wonders and dangers. Somewhere out there, new challenges waited. New threats would arise. New empires would grow bold and ambitious, but the Silent Thunder would be there. And 17 ships like her, and all the strength and wisdom that humanity had gathered over centuries of quiet preparation. The universe had made a mistake when it threatened Earth. It would not make that mistake again.